Number 4, he says, my servant David will be king over them. There shall be one shepherd for all of them. This is the Mashiach, my servant David. We're not talking about David who lived in the 10th century BCE. We're talking about the son of David, the Mashiach, whom God will raise up for us, as the scripture says. And the Jewish people will live gathered around him, and he will be their king. There will be allegiance to the Mashiach. That's why we are Messianic Jews. We believe that Yeshua of Nazareth is that Mashiach, and we owe him allegiance. But let's get back to Ezekiel and God's agenda for the fullness of Israel. The 5th point is found in the second half of verse 24. He says, they shall follow my rules and faithfully obey my laws. The words here are chukim and mishpatim, the nuts and bolts, the small print of the mitzvot, Torah obedience. The Jewish people will be brought back to the land, unified as a people, spiritually renewed, brought to allegiance to the Messiah, and through all of these things, they'll be brought to covenant obedience, to be observant Jews gathered around the Messiah. We at MJTI are trying to be that. Observant Jews, obeying the chukim and mishpatim in allegiance to the Mashiach. Number 6, verse 25. Thus they shall remain in the land which I gave to my servant Jacob, in which your fathers dwelt. They and their children shall dwell there forever, and my servant David as their prince for all time. And I will make a covenant of friendship with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. I'll establish them and multiply them. And I will place my sanctuary, my Mishkan, among them forever. It might be Mikdash. I don't know Mishkan or Mikdash in this verse. My presence shall rest over them. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. My presence shall rest over them. This reminds us, doesn't it, of the tabernacle in the wilderness, where the very presence of Hashem, the Shekhinah, dwelt in the midst of the encampment of the people of Israel. There's going to come a time when that's going to be true again in richer measure, that the very presence of God will be a communal reality for all the people of Israel. And finally, at the end of this chapter, Ezekiel gives us the 7th aspect of the new Messianic Jewish agenda, the small print of the fullness of Israel, when he says this, and when my sanctuary abides among them forever, the nations shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel. As you read the book of Ezekiel, you see this theme recurring over and over again, that it's a disgrace to God that his people are scattered all over the world, despised in many places, threatened, not necessarily living in obedience to him. And this makes God look bad. What kind of a God is this, who can't keep his people in the land and who can't keep them obedient? He looks like a weak God. But he says, for the sake of my name, I'm going to do this. I'm going to vindicate my name and bring all of these things to pass, that the nations might know who I really am when I vindicate my name through vindicating Israel as my people. So that brings us to this sketch, if you will, of the fullness of Israel, what we call the new Messianic Jewish agenda.